Hello and welcome. I'm Wood Boyles and this is the World History Project. Our question today is, how were foraging communities organized? And how is this different from farming societies today? Before we get into talking about foragers, you might be thinking, well, why should we care about them? It's not like they're actually around today. Well, they are. Several communities around the world still rely on hunting wild animals for meat or fishing for sustenance. And it's important to remember that for most of human history, something like 95% of it, we were actually foragers. Historians like to focus on the other 5% because that's the part that includes written sources, and it's supposedly easier to prove stuff with writing. So how did foragers organize themselves? If we look at them through the community frame, we see that decisions were made in small groups, such as in immediate or extended families. They didn't need written laws or legal codes or governments because they were organized in small groups and could communicate and make decisions face to face. We believe that labor was based on gender, such as men hunting and the women gathering fruits, berries, plants, and whatever else you might gather. This is one reason that historians believe the first farmer might have been a woman. Of course, we aren't really sure about any of this, but hopefully one day evidence will show us the truth. So that pretty much covers the production and distribution frame as well. They were hunter-gatherers and lived off whatever their environment produced. But they did have networks of interaction, our final frame. They shared technology like tools and weapons and maybe even cooking methods with other communities of foragers. This brings us to our word of the day, communities. This was one of our frames from last week, but I never really took time to define it. Communities are groups of people who have shared experiences and a shared identity. Sometimes they live close together, but not always. I'm thinking about religious groups. They are part of a shared community, but don't necessarily have to live in close proximity to each other. You probably have several communities yourself, such as school, athletics, online groups. All of these are different communities. But foraging communities were on a much smaller scale than ours are today. Remember, they didn't have the internet. So today I want you to read Foraging Communities and Networks and think about how foraging communities were organized and how this is different from our farming societies today. Then, in your historian's journal, I want you to write about how foraging communities today might be responding to COVID-19. How are these responses different than those of farming societies? You may have to go find some of those foraging societies today, on the internet of course, don't literally travel right now. Be safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you next time.